Facebook. Welcome to Brunch with REC. Today's an exciting day. People are slowly trickling into the room because they were enjoying their brunch. How was the brunch, everyone?
Great, thank you very much.
Where's Kevork? Kevork! Well, a big round of applause for Kevork, who presented our breakfast this morning. Thank you, Kevork. And Tina. Big shout out to them, our caterers, who always take care of us for brunches. I am going to get started with, of course, welcoming all of you here. You could be anywhere, as always. It's something that we say every time, but you chose to be here today. So I want to make your time here valuable, where you can leave here today with something that is going to bring value either to your portfolio or to your planning or to the way you're going to do things out there in the market. As we all know, the market has not been easy. The last couple years have taught many people a lot of very expensive lessons. And for those who undermine the value of due diligence, those who undermine the value of intense studying the market before they make a move, have paid the price for it. Undermining principles of real estate, undermining the value of taking your time and seeking expert counsel in anything you do will bring you to a result that you never dreamed of, and it's horrible to be there. When you invest your after-tax dollars, and those dollars don't go as you saw fit, it hurts very badly. And it takes a long time to recover. Real estate is not peanuts. It doesn't just come back. One move, you can lose $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. Am I saying that to scare anybody or to remind somebody from the pain they had? I've had my own lessons in real estate. I've been buying and selling it for 20 years, but I've been investing in it for about 25. The worst property I ever bought, I still own today. And it's located in Red Deer, Alberta. It's a condominium that I bought in 2004. At the height of that energy cycle. A beautiful 2-story townhouse condo that I bought for $280,000 back then. Sorry, $380,000 back then. Within a year and 6 months, 18 months, right around the time that I had to close on it, the market, the energy cycle in Alberta, did what it always does. It's 5-year turnaround. Goes up, must come back down, goes back up, because it's oil. And oil is a syndicate. And real estate, and jobs, and retail, all go with it in those economies. That condominium is still worth $250,000 in exactly 20 years of ownership. It went down and never came back up. Why? Because housing in Alberta is abundant. There is no restrictive policies. There's just cornfields and city councils that see housing as something that people have a right to, which is great for the people, not good for landlords. And we're in the business of housing providing. So with that being said, I still own it. It's now paid off, and it's making me cash flow. So did I lose ultimately? No. But did I lose ultimately? Yes. Perspective is everything. So me having the luxury and the ability to carry that is the only reason why it's still serving me today. Again, why am I saying all this today? And I have a special surprise today. I have this handsome young man with me today, Anton, who is an expert in a real estate niche that we'll talk about in a second. In a market like today, where cash flow is impossible to find in urban centers, cash flow is, you can find it everywhere and anywhere. But if you want to invest in the GTA, unless you plan on adding a door or two, cash flow positivity is not going to be there for you. Prices have been extremely resilient. Sure, the market, if the condos downtown has come down 10, 15%, but that's barely takes us to prior to 2021, when the market went up 40% in a matter of 4 years. So unless you bought in 2022, bad luck for you. It's not a big enough, it's a fringe market of just a few people who got caught in the very last tranches. And it happens in every cycle. But it's not a big enough problem to bring a market down. Because as you can see, there's a record number of units up and prices are still not going down. Prices should have come down 50% in any other city in the world, but not here, because there's a lineup of tenants. There's a housing crisis. What does that mean for the investors who own them, like myself? We have a very significant number of condominiums. I do, with my partner Jazz, with joint ventures with others, with Bev. We own condos. Oh, your friend Bev. Your friend Bev. Yeah. No, she's not. But we own I'm in a number of JVs. And these are all condominiums around the GTA, for the most part downtown. Do I have cash flow positivity? I do on units that I bought prior to 2016, because we bought them for $299. What can you find today for $299? Parking. So unless you are okay with putting in $1,000 a month in negative cash flow, chances are you're already on the market right now. And you are the problem that we're trying to absorb. But there are solutions, and that's why every one of you is here today. And to all the wonderful people who chose to join us online, thank you for being there. To our entire Facebook audience and to our YouTube audience, we appreciate you being here with us. And I do want to get to our presentation, and this preface that I did, I'm not speaking to the market. If you want to speak to the market, send me an email. There's nothing to discuss. It's slow. We have way too many listings on the market in the GTA. It's not going to be fixed in 3 months. Enough said. We need at least 200 beeps. That's 2 percentage points down on interest rates to make any sense of the market again. That might be the case by next summer. We might see 1% by the end of the year if we're lucky, another 1% throughout the spring. And then we're going to start getting into a different market. That's as far as I'll take today's market discussion. Because anything else, even this, is speculation, and I'm acting like I have a crystal ball, which I don't. So what we are going to talk about and dedicate, at least I want you to take your time with it, because there's a lot of concepts here, is what options do you have to increase liquidity in your day-to-day portfolio by managing not a long-term rental, but a short-term rental. Anton, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your story and why we trust you to be on this stage.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for the
My
introduction.
pleasure. Everybody, a big round of applause for Anton.
Thanks for coming out today. And we'll be talking about the landscape of Airbnb rentals in 2024. I should change these very soon to 2025 because they will stay very similar. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but first, just the agenda for today. So introductions. The very important side of this business, the short-term rental regulations. That's probably the most important thing you're going to learn today from the standpoint of whether you can, want to do it. Then the benefits of why you should do a short-term rental. We just discussed a few. I'll mention a few more. The Airbnb myths, as I like to call them, that people think that that's what usually happens there, but we'll talk about those. Then the way the property management works for that, and then a Q&A. So my name is Anton, and I'm the CEO of Astra Host, and I have about 15 years of experience in the property management space. It wasn't always short-term. My family owned commercial units, residential units, so I was helping out with those. So I have a lot of understanding how to deal with tenants, with investments and everything else. So and then I've had Airbnbs myself, and I used other short-term rental companies, and the results were just underwhelming. Lots of damage to the property, dirty. The cleaners were not doing the proper job. So I thought to myself, and I used to be a marketing director for various tech companies, and I said, you know what, I want to do my own business, and I started exploring opportunities, and then I realized this is a very interesting niche. I've always liked real estate. There are a lot of agents, and a lot of my friends are agents, and I thought that's not really the avenue I want to take. I want to do something a little bit more niche, and I really like the model, and I said, why I cannot do it myself when other people are doing it for me? And that's how I started. And we've had amazing success. We have more than 10 properties that we're managing now. It doesn't sound like a lot, but we reject 90% of the clients that come our way because we specialize in the high-end sector, downtown condos and high-end homes around GTA. And that's a specific niche because we provide very high-end experience for our clients who are the property owners and the guests, more like hotel experience, like to call it the Four Seasons of Airbnb, that not a lot of people do. So we want to stay small and boutique, and that's our kind of niche. So
and that's how you're growing your brand in that space.
Exactly. And we have guest favorite and super host statuses for all our properties, unless they're new and they haven't reached that yet. Within the 2 months mark, we always reach it because we curate 5-star reviews and that type of experience. Because that's my internal values. That's what I try and present to all our clients and guests. Now, the fun stuff. So, as Simeon said, that some of you might want to consider this opportunity because of the cash flow problems. But you also have to understand the regulations in the GTA area and other municipalities that have very similar regulations. Once one municipality kind of establishes regulations, the other one just kind of copy it and adjust it to themselves. So the biggest thing to get started, if you have a condo, you need to understand whether the condo allows Airbnb. If it doesn't allow Airbnb, it's going to be a nightmare. So there is a number of condos. If you're thinking of investing in this market, for example, because it's a good opportunity to dive into something like that, you need to make sure that the condo, and you want to invest into a place that you can do long-term or short-term. You have both possibilities. You want to make sure the condo allows Airbnb, and it's written, not just board of directors allow it. It's written in the charter of the condo, so you need to speak to the lawyer, and they will let you know if that's.
And this is by obtaining a copy of your condo disclosure documents.
Yes.
Your condo status certificate and disclosure documents will contain every single detail that you need to know. But if they're not up to date, you need to check that too. So unless you pulled it in the last 15 to 30 days, never trust your condo disclosure documents because they can change on a monthly basis depending on the votes or what's happening with the condo board.
Yep. It's extremely difficult to change that rule because it needs to be over 80%, I believe, of condo owners to vote to change something. So if people are renting Airbnbs, they're never gonna want to do that and lose money. So, but nonetheless, very important because if you're gonna start, I know some people who rent Airbnbs and condos that don't allow Airbnbs. It's a nightmare. Their fobs get disconnected. It's not a business anymore. It's a hustle, and you're bribing concierges. Like it's just such a gray area that we don't deal with it, and we don't recommend because it's such a headache and it's very stressful. The second very important part, whether it is a condo or a house or a townhouse, it has to be your principal residence. If it's not your principal residence, you can't do anything under 28 days in Toronto. Airbnb will actually not allow you to do it. It's locked. In Mississauga, you can still throw it up and take a chance if the city is going to fine you or take you down. But in Toronto, you can't even do it. It has to be, you have to have an STR number that you get from the city. In order to do that, your driver's license needs to be on the address. Ideally, you want to have internet, your hydro bill, your taxes, your bank information under there, because if they do inquire anything, you have all the proof, you live there. Even if you don't, that's up to you, but it has to be your principal residence by documentation or your daughters, your cousins, your brothers.
Is staging a separation with my partner a good idea? No, I'm just kidding.
You guys play in the gray area however you want. I'm not going to advise that. We're being recorded. So
I was just thinking to myself, I didn't finish the thought.
Yeah,
it's all
so,
good.
You know,
it could have gone anywhere.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, right? Because people sometimes reach out and they say, hey, I have 5 properties. I want to do Airbnbs. So I'm like, unless you have a really large family, you have very good friends who are willing to go get the licenses. And people do that. People do that, right? And they can do it. Like, we don't meddle with that. We just say, hey, you take care of that. That's what you need to do. How you do it, it's up to you. But it's hard, right? You can't clone yourself. So I say you can only do one. Technically, if you can find people, great, we'll work with it, but don't tell me how you got it. And then once you have the principal residence, you can only rent that principal residence 180 days under short term, meaning under 28 days. Why? Is because it's your principal residence. You're supposed to live there for half a year at least, right? So the way we work with that, and most management companies work with that, we do 180 days. We save it for the hot season, which starts in May in Toronto and ends around September, to maximize the occupancy, maximize nightly rates, because you get, if it's a condo downtown, from $250 to $400, and with Taylor Swift, $800 easily, right? There you go. She has her own economy that she brings to Toronto. We want to maximize it during the hot season, during the hot weekends, conferences, et cetera, et cetera. We have obviously a knowledge of when those are happening. And then the rest, what we have left, we do midterm, which is 28 days plus. So there's a nurse or a doctor coming in for some kind of job at a hospital, right? And they need to be close by. They're going to stay there for 2 months. They want an Airbnb, right? And we do that usually during the winter months. Now we're going into slow season, and we're already planning on how we're going to stagger the slow season, and we're going to not going to make as much money, of course. Sometimes break even, sometimes even make less than a long term. But we make a lot of money in the summer, and it makes up for everything. We'll get into.
And I think I just want to make a quick comment. Anton just said we are now planning as to how we're going to go through the slow and winter season. There is planning involved. There is thought, energy, and strategy involved. We are not all the same. Just because two of us own an Airbnb in the same building doesn't mean we're going to deliver the same experience to the guest, because he focuses on a high-end boutique experience, and I just might be a slumlord. Don't care. He does planning for the winter. I might just be having a coffee and thinking about the clouds. Whatever happens, happens. It is what it is. We're not going to profit the same. This is what I want you guys to be thinking about. You have to be so intentional and so strategic with whatever decision you make if you want to win. Winning is not easy. And this is what I really want you to put forward today, because there's nothing that he does or gets hired to do that you can't do on your own.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
But you have to have the time and willingness to do it properly. Otherwise, don't. See if the math is there and hire somebody who will. That's what I'm getting at. So you are going to get the secret sauce today. You're not walking away without, what company do you use to do your AirDNA or whatever the case may be? Give us the secrets.
Yep.
Walk away with the secrets, but know that if you're not going to use them to their effectiveness, don't take a crack at it. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
please continue.
And it's we're not sending people into space here. Anybody can do it, and that's why I tell people. A lot of people that call me, I say, for your specific case, it's easier if you do it yourself, right? Like, you have time. You should. We had some clients who came in, and then they realized that they can do it themselves. We help them set up, because we charge for a setup fee or onboarding fee and everything, and then we do a few months, of course, right? If they can do it themselves, we're happy to, for that to happen, because we know they're going to recommend us to somebody else and whatnot. And I guess to your point, yes, you can use various tools, but you need to know how to use them, and I'm happy to share those tools. We go above and beyond. We use the tools, and then we also model things ourselves on top of using those tools to make sure that we maximize the profits and everything else, especially during the slow season, because it's tough, and you've got to really, you can get a booking for, let's say, a month and a half, and then for 15 days, you have nothing, right? You don't want to lose that. So there's ways on kind of bringing those things together. It's kind of complicated. Certain things, certain secret sauce we're going to keep in the secret sauce. Right. So, and that's, so far we talked about if you rent out the whole unit, right? Also, you have a choice of renting out a room. So the new regulations, they always change. And the city of Toronto came out with some new regulations recently that took effect at the end of September, and then a few more are going to take effect January 1st. So I'm just going to give you when I speak of as in we're in January 1st. You can rent rooms for 365 days a year. So the 180 rule does not apply, but you can only rent up to 3 rooms in a dwelling, and minus 1 room, meaning that it's your principal residence. You have to have 1 room. Example, you have a 5-bedroom house. You can only rent 3 rooms, so 2 are empty. If you have a 3-bedroom apartment, you can only rent 2 rooms, because you need to have 1 for yourself, right? And people, of course, bend the rules, et cetera, but if they get caught, they can lose their license. It's an issue. We don't focus on rooms. Usually people who focus on rooms, they do it themselves because they just live there anyways, and then they just do it, and it's perfectly fine, but it's a lot more flexible, so you can do short-term throughout the whole year. Now, the benefits of short-term rentals. We've discussed a few. So obviously, the earning potential, we'll have a slide that's going to kind of showcase one of our case studies. I say the rule of thumb is that you should be making from 20 to 50% more a year after all the expenses than you would if you did long-term. You should not be making less. I mean, it's just, you can be making less if your area is very undesirable or just very hard to create demand for the area. But if you're downtown Toronto, you should be making, closer to 50%. Some agencies will tell you you'll make double, you'll make triple. They just want to get you as a client. They're not gonna, and then people get upset. Why am I making only 50% more? It's because that's reasonable. You'll make double in the summer during the hot season. You'll make maybe even triple sometimes in the summer, but then you're might miss a month, right? In the winter, you might.
But as it weighs out over the year average.
So on average, you should be making from 20 to 50%, depending on the demand, on what's happening in the world, the economy, the location of the property, right? And I'll showcase the property that's making more than 50%, but that is an outlier, and I don't know what happened there, but it's very good. Flexibility, that's a huge one, right? You want to be able to live there yourself. You want to have your family members from overseas coming and staying at a property instead of getting a hotel. You want to sell it at any time you want, right? Because you might have a business opportunity. You might want to do it for 5 years, but at some point in time, you have the flexibility. You can get that money out a lot faster because the tenant is not there. You don't need to get the tenant out, pay the tenant, deal with the tenant landlord board, which is a disaster. So the flexibility is huge, right? And the condition is something that we'll talk about in Airbnb myths as well. It's actually the opposite of what people think. People think, oh, I'm going to be Airbnb my condo. It's going to be a party. It's going to get destroyed. Well, could if you have specific level of management. But with our properties, with our philosophy, again, number one thing we say to our clients, it's not to make you profit. That's number two thing. Number one thing is to make sure your home remains a home and it is in the same or a better condition that you gave to us. Because why? Because the guests are coming in, and if the walls are all scuffed up, if it's dirty, if it's not good, if things are broken, we're going to get bad reviews. We're not going to be making as much money. We're not going to be at the top of the rankings, right? We want good reviews. We want good experiences for the guests. And we need to keep it up. We have our own, handyman teams and that take care of these things. And of course, not every little detail, but like a few things come up, and then we, fix them at a certain point in time. But it's still, a premium experience. So, and the cleaning, you get professional cleaning done every 5 days, every month if it's during the winter. But you have people there all the time cleaning, scrubbing the corners, everything. I've seen, long-term properties personally. Our properties, family properties, is just devastating. A brand new stacked townhouse, like what you were talking about, brand new from a builder. Tenant moves in. After a year, it looks like somebody's been living there for 10 years. It's a disaster. We're like, how is this possible? Like, nobody washed the floor for a year. It's a nightmare, right? So the condition is a big thing. You have your unit beautifully staged. It's a great condition. Here is a case study. That's actually the townhouse I was just talking about, right? That's actually my mom's. So very nice. People tell you do your mom's property. It's very cute. So this place looks beautiful, as you can see, but it didn't look like that.
Did everybody see past my watermelon head? Yeah.
And it was making $3,000. This one's located close to Yorkdale. And when I was switching it to the short term, I was like, oh my God, like, am I gonna get my mom go bankrupt? Who knows? This is not downtown, right? And it's smashing it. You can see the calendar. It's fully booked. This is actually real stuff. There is like a day, orphan day here, orphan day there. We don't do one-night bookings. We only do minimum 2 to detract bad guests or people who want to party. And you can see that we launched it in March. And yes, this is part of the hot season and stuff, right? But up to August, it made $30,000, almost $31,000, and it made that divided by 6. That's over $5,000. You can do the math increase. It's more than 50%, right? It will be a little bit slower during the winter, so it's probably going to average out to 40 to 50%. But that's way better. She has the flexibility. She doesn't worry about the tenant destroying the place or anything else. It was a lot of stress. So that's just an example. of how things work. And a lot of people ask me to create a slide on the breakdown of Airbnb fees and payments. Just quickly to go through here, it gets complicated, but visually it's a little bit easier to understand.
And for every single person to know, the REC has created a professional and templated pro forma that you can use every day in your own portfolio to create breakdowns just like this for your existing properties. Send us an email and we'll get it to you if anybody needs it.
So first of all, you have the nightly rate, right? And that's at the top. Then there's a cleaning fee for a property. Then there's guest service fee. Guest service fee is the Airbnb fees that are around 14.11% that they charge the guest. Then the occupancy taxes. Those consist of MAT, which is municipal accommodation tax. So the city of Toronto, it's 6%. Not every single municipality has it. Different municipalities have 2%, 0%, depends, right? And then it's also HST on the guest service tax that goes into the occupancy taxes. And then the property use taxes are the HSTs of 13% that we collect because you have various options there. And the way the payout works is that the host gets the nightly fee, right? Nightly room fee, the cleaning fee that gets passed on to the cleaning team. This is a nightly rate adjustment because sometimes we do discounts. So like, you book for a week or you see 7 nights for a week, you get 10% discount. That's your, nightly rate adjustment, right? And then Airbnb also charges the host 3%. So that's your 3%. And then property taxes we keep, and then we remit that to the government on behalf of our clients. Usually that's the best way to do it, so it makes it easier. So the breakdown is a little complicated, but the most important thing you should know is that basically the nightly rate that you get, that's the one that you're going to keep, and minus 3% pretty much, if you think about it this way. Now, quickly with Airbnb myths. So yes, the place is not going to get destroyed because we have, like for example, the way we do it, we have very stringent house rules, and we do only minimum 2-night stays, and we charge guests if they're going to party or do some smoke $1,000 fine. So when they see that, they just don't want to deal with that at all right away. And we ensure that they agree to these rules. We have automated messages going out when they book. We like, check the house rules. Please make sure you agree to them, right? And we also have minimum, usually we set minimum age of, there's also no pets, and minimum age of 25 years old or 30 years old for like very high-end properties because unfortunately, younger crowd, they rent Airbnb, so have some fun. I ran into that problem once or twice early on, and that taught me a good lesson. Nothing significant, no damages that are just extra severe cleaning, deep clean required. So Airbnb is great. $3 million liability, by the way, with Airbnb. They will take care of all the damages as long as you send photos and proof. It's quite a great process there. Wear and tear, again, we spoke about that. When you have a long-term tenant, you just have way more wear and tear because they just don't care. They don't wash the floors. Here, you get professional cleaning. You get maintenance upkeep because the property needs to look good so you can get good reviews in the future, right? Very, very simple there. People are afraid there's no guaranteed income. So that's a tricky one, right? Because if you're going to tell me, hey, I want to Airbnb my house in, I don't know, Brantford, Ontario, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, I don't know. Is there demand there, right? It's very difficult. We can look at different statistics on AirDNA, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, there's tools we can use, but until you, and people will tell you different, but I'll tell you, until you actually put it up, you're not going to ever know, right? Because who knows what's happening with the other property, how they, the listing, this and that. There's so many factors. So if you're downtown Toronto, I'll tell you, you'll make money. Like you're making money. There's no doubt. The other things you got to try. Sometimes, like I said, with that townhouse that I showed you, I was like, who's going to rent in Yorkdale? And it's been doing better than the downtown condos sometimes. So you get lucky, and sometimes, we have a house in Etobicoke, and I'm thinking of turning it into a Harry Potter experience because it's getting, I'm renting $470 a night, a stunning 3-bedroom, absolutely beautiful, magical gingerbread-looking house that the owner staged it to perfection. With my help, it was just beautiful, and it's a 3-bedroom, and it's doing really poorly, and I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't want to give it away either. We'll get some reviews, this and that will keep working, but it's tough. I can't create the demand there's in there. Then we start thinking, okay, I'll hire a designer. A friend of mine, she can decorate it as a Harry Potter thing with the candles, like with And people will probably rent it. It will. And the guy's like, yeah, let's do it. So I'm like, okay, give us a month and a half, 2 months. Let's see if we can get it going. If not, we have to do something, right? But you can't create demand. So that's the tough one. But you should be making money. It's if you're studying on a property that's a downtown condo that's Airbnb friendly, you're making money. There's, even though I know that paycheck will be coming in, or rather a check will be getting cashed every month with a long-term rental. Sometimes people don't pay these days, right? And we've seen it a lot recently. Here you have the flexibility, and you should be making money in this sense. And hosting is a full-time job, and that's what you said. Anybody can do it. It is not a full-time job. You can do it if you want to do it properly. You have to obviously invest a lot more time into it, but it's not rocket science. Anybody can do it. I can do it. You can do it. We just know how to do it professionally, and we have systems in place. And we've thought, said for half a year in front of the computer with my team, 3 people were building the foundation of all the philosophy and all the documents and everything to make sure everything is proper, right? We'll do it probably a little bit better. We have a little bit more background, but anybody can do it. It is pretty straightforward, right?
No, but for people to understand the competition in that space, because the experience, this is ultimately about giving people an experience. They're paying you for an experience. And unless you put the client first, the same way we put our clients first, we invest our time into our clients. You as a housing provider, or you as a nightly short-term rental housing provider, it's even more demanding. Your company, from centralized bed sheets, custom soaps and sundries, scents across the properties. When you walk into this property, it smells a certain way. The sun hits it a certain way. And guests do care. People, when they find something they like, they stick with it. They become loyal to it. And that's what creating a brand is. So when he says he turns away 90%, it's not because he doesn't want it or it's not good enough. It's the brand stands for something. And once you build that brand, it's unstoppable. Whether it's in the mid, low, or high. Pick your niche, but do it and do it well. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question about the Harry Potter idea?
Yes.
Does it then become an experience, an Airbnb experience versus an Airbnb rental? Because don't they take a bigger cut out of that?
Yeah, I don't think that's the way we would position it, because I think the experience, it has to be approved by Airbnb and like all that stuff. It's like the F1 museum. It has to be, I think they are the ones who start the process, but it would be just kind of, themed, right? And it would attract people's eyes and they would want to rent this over something else for their kids, or they just want to have like a Halloween night in a place like that. That's great in that sense. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a tricky question too. And to your point, I was gonna make a point over there about the experience that people slip my mind now. That's okay.
No worries, my man. No worries.
Right. And basically, so anybody can do it, and we just have a system that we follow. And I guess that's the nice segue into the way we do things, right? It's A to Z service. We have a lot of clients who actually live abroad and have the principal residence that they want to just rent out, and they come visit two weeks out of the year, or a month out of the year, right? And we take care of their property. It's nerve-wracking to give up a multi-million-dollar property or $1 million condo. Everything's $1 million now, to somebody, right, to manage. So that's why it's our job to kind of translate that. That we are the right people and we have the responsibility. And like I said, our value is to take care of your home first versus make money. Of course, we want to make money. We're on commission. The owners want to make money, but it's about making sure that this property stays intact. And what we do is obviously help the property on board, build a listing on Airbnb and Booking.com. Usually for Toronto, those are the only two we use. VRBO is actually, they don't have the license to operate in Toronto. And we take care of guest booking. Then we obviously have guest communication. And we also pride ourselves in the fact that we don't just have hire people overseas to kind of do, we do have hire people overseas, but not, like for $2 an hour that sound like robots, like actual people who are engaged and understand how to speak to the guests and resolve their problems. Then the cleaning, we have our internal cleaning team. We have 17 pages, I think I told you, cleaning instructions that I built because I'm like, it has to be impeccable. And it's never perfect because humans are not robots. They will sometimes forget to clean the lint thing or the vacuum. And we get, sometimes an owner will spot check and be like, you didn't clean the vacuum. I'm like, that's the one time you didn't clean the vacuum when you came. Like literally, it was just last week. And but we curate that high level of experience for the guests, that they can literally come in there and it's spotless. And I do sometimes spot checks and stuff, and we actually posted a video on our social that I did one day, and it was just like, wow, this is nice, like good job. Here's a little bonus to our cleaning team. And maintenance as well, right? Something happens, something always can happen. A fridge breaks, this and that. So we have people who can come in and do those things actually quite rapid. Yesterday, a mirror fell down on one of the properties. One of the guys was there in the evening, fixing it before the new guests arrived today. So yeah, the way we do it, we charge 20% from that nightly rate, right? After all the expenses. So Airbnb takes their 3%. After all of that, that's how much we charge. We charge 20%. Probably start charging 25% with all the things we're just talking about. Seriously, right? Because there are other companies that are charging 20%. They don't deliver the same level, and that's totally fine. Oh, that's the point I was going to make. So you said that we don't take, not because we don't like people, it's just because the philosophy needs to be the same. I explain to people what we do, and that these are our values, and sometimes they don't align, and we get interviewed, but we also interview our clients, because it is a lot of client management when it comes to this, right? And we want to work with people who don't need to explain certain basic things in half a year or in a year. They understand that right away, and we have the same values. Like that guy with a potentially Harry Potter house, he is super cool, super chill. He's like, bro, whatever you want to do, I trust you. Let's do it. I'm in it. I love that attitude, because things happen, and it's a lot of stress. I don't like to stress, so I try and
He gives you the freedom to pivot or try things.
Exactly, and that's the way I like to work. And he's very meticulous, and I like that because I'm the same way. So we find people who are like-minded, and that's why there's enough money for everybody to make. And we send lots of potential leads to other great co-hosts that we know. And I love the space. Everybody is very friendly, and we don't look at each other as competition, because there's, it's
a big world.
Everybody can eat, right? And it's a great relationship. Actually, there was a big, not big, actually small. It was an Airbnb co-hosting invite-only event in Toronto last month, where the Airbnb guys flew in from San Francisco and Seattle, and we meet the top co-hosts in Toronto. Everybody's super nice, super friendly, willing to help. It's a community, because the regulations are tough, so we're all trying to help each other. And
that's great.
Yeah, so it's a nice experience.
Stephen, I want you to maybe put something in the chats on YouTube and Facebook if anybody has questions, to put them in their questions. And let's take some questions here.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the 20% fee, this is the only fee, or there is the monthly fee beside it?
The only other fee is the onboarding fee. We usually charge $500 for onboarding. We provide lots of documentation, like here's the checklist of items that you need to get in order to provide 5-star experience. Here is a list of, if you need to stage your property, here's a list of furniture we suggest you use, and we can, the ones we used in some of those places, like this is a pull-out couch that looks beautiful, look great in photos, but it's only $1,000. It's not like $3,000. And the bed, here's a beautiful queen-size bed that's going to fit beautifully. It's only $300, right? We have a list, so we help onboard the person, and we also build all the listings ourselves. We call the photographer. Photographer is extra. We have phenomenal photographer that we use, a company. I went through 3 or 5 companies, because again, I say it's not pursuit of perfection, pursuit of excellence, because I like it to be really good. It's $500 level photography for like $250, right?
So this is for one time?
This is one time. It does cost some money to set up an Airbnb. I say that if you're going from scratch, you're looking at about, for a 2-bedroom townhouse or apartment, you're looking at about $6,000 to $8,000, depending on if you have some of your own things, like glasses, utensils that you just have sitting around, right? You don't need to buy it, but everything adds up. So you need to understand that this is the initial investment, and you need to buy linens, towels. You need to buy 2 sets of linens for each bed, right? Like, because there's a turnover, right? And we prefer higher end linens, again, that we recommend, because then we can provide that experience, higher end experience. It's only going to be, like $30-$40 per set, but then you've got to buy, X amount of those.
My question to you is the ongoing service, such as linen service, towel service, is that what you provide with that 20%? that's inclusive of all the operating costs?
So we provide the cleaning for that, but you do need to buy all the things yourself. All the shampoos, we will tell you these are the shampoos. You'll save money on them because you just buy it in bulk. We can even do it for you. Here are the dispensers. They look beautiful. We came up with all these things, but we will charge you like you own them, right? Like you own those bed sheets, you own those things. So we'll give you the list, but you need to buy them. And of course, sometimes people are like, oh, it's too much money. I say, okay, we'll find the balance there. Ideally, like at the end of the day, if you're doing it long term, these things are way better to buy because it's actually cheaper. You invest $300 into 5-liter jugs of conditioner, soap, and shampoo, and 2 sets of dispensers. And it's gonna last you for a year. How much are you gonna buy the shampoos and body wash, right?
Sometimes they go for brands, like kind of sponsors. Like
What's that?
Shampoo and stuff.
So I handpicked those. I found a company in Canada that provides hotel amenities, and I tested all their shampoos, and I picked a specific. It was a fun process. I'm like, oh, this. I picked the one that I found was the most neutral and appealing, and that's the one we can do the other ones, but it's just easier. And I say, this is what we have. It's great. It's perfect. Approved by me. The dispensers that are lockable, so the guests can't take them. There's a key that the cleaners use. Like, thought of it, like I told you, I'm pretty crazy.
Of course.
Yeah, and then again, we always think, what's the next step? Me and my head of cleaning, we went to pick the welcoming aroma, we call it, right? I say, hey, well, actually, she came up with that. She is brilliant. So she's like, have you thought of that? I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So we always think of how we can take it to the next level. And as you said, when you walk in, it's like, that's nice. It's like in a hotel, right? It evaporates after a while, but at least that welcoming experience. Because we're onboarding a property right now, and she finished the cleaning before the photos and probably used it. And I walk in, I'm like, oh, that smells nice. I completely forgot that we're using it, right? I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Maybe it's the neighbors that sprayed. They were smoking the other day, and they sprayed something outside, right? But it was our thing. It's just, these little things. But that we can take care of. It's like $25 for, it's going to last a year. But other things like bed sheets and everything else, the owners have to buy them. We will recommend what to buy.
But you guys wash them, turn them over,
everything,
all the things.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, we do all of that.
Any other questions from this side? Go ahead.
Is your property insurance effective if you do Airbnb?
Is it what, sorry?
Your property
Insurance. So basically, the way it works, you need to get Airbnb, you need to get STR insurance, short-term rental insurance with your company, or Square One is the big one that provides that. So you need to make sure that's done. But if something happens on the property, like a guest breaks their leg or they ruin something, Airbnb has $3 million liability. It's called air cover, so you're very protected. With Booking.com, we have something else that we use. It's called Superhog. We get guests to fill out the Know Your Customer thing, and then with like a $500 deposit, we're protected for $5 million against damages as well, because that's important, because Booking.com doesn't provide you with anything. Not the great platform. I prefer Airbnb, but we use it as well. We I think set about 40% higher rates on Booking.com.
Wow.
So if people want to book it there, we'll make some extra money for our clients, because Airbnb is good enough to fill. The market in Toronto is very good. It's a unique market. It's a very strong market, especially if you're downtown and you have a condo that you can Airbnb. It's quite unique.
Great.
So you should inform your insurance company.
Yes, 100%.
For sure.
And we have that
Anything
on the
from
list.
online? You're good? Go ahead, my friend.
I know you deal with more condos, but I'm personally looking into Airbnb that house. It's a very big house in North York. Do you have any experience with bigger houses and how they perform?
Yes, we do have a few houses, and like I said, we focus on downtown condos and big, high-end homes around the GTA. It could be in Oakville, it can be anywhere, right? Because that's, we can then provide that high-end experience, and people who rent those, they appreciate that. It depends on the area, right? Like we have one we're onboarding right now in Scarborough beside UFT. I tell the guy, I don't know. Everybody that you see on Airbnb here, they're basement units for students. You have this luxury 4-bedroom mansion, looks stunning, with like artwork for $6,000 each artwork, right? Like it's very nice, beautiful fireplace. How is it gonna do? Maybe it's gonna do amazing because parents are gonna come and visit their kids who are going to UFT for a few months from overseas, and they need to rent it. So we will test and play with short term plus the midterm, higher end midterm for cost, right? So until nobody, like I said, we can look at AirDNA, we can look at things on Airbnb, do the assessment research, we do that. But for the townhouse, the assessment research showed that it's going to make $36,000 a year. She made $30,000 a year in 6 months. The property made like 50 already because there's expenses,
Right.
cleaning and everything else. So how accurate is that? You never know. Sometimes you're going to win, and that's basically like a townhouse. Sometimes you might take a little bit of time to adjust, right? So
I think location has a lot to do with the performance, obviously, because we are talking about, retailing housing. So it is going to be very much tied to location, proximity to attractions and amenities. But for all the people watching us online and inside this room, we have a standing team of real estate professionals and finance professionals. We are connected directly with some of the best mortgage companies in the GTA that can help you kind of disseminate the advantages and disadvantages, what your exposure would be, how you would qualify for another property. But if you want to, take a look at what do these properties look like, get in touch with our concierge. They'll connect you. I know Jesse's here today. Where's Jesse? He might be outside. But we have a dedicated team that procures properties daily for different mandates. So your mandate might be short-term rental. Your mandate might be long-term rental. Your mandate might be whatever. There's people who simply work on finding market opportunities on a daily basis on our team. And those are the people that you want to be speaking to. So if you want to start a search, you can start on your own. Of course you can. But we do real estate all day, every day. We might know somebody who's offloading one. Somebody needs to go. There's an opportunity. Get on those lists if this is something that interests you. You can only win more by networking and winning with more people. Network amongst each other in this room. That's the whole point of this exercise. So just keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Which areas do you cover?
So we focus on downtown for condos, and of course, if there's a townhouse or a house downtown, there's such things as well. We obviously take care of that because it's just much better with operations, and we can deliver that high-level service. And if it's a high-end property, we can do the whole GTA. So we even have a few cottages in Muskoka. It's just a little bit harder to. We still maintain excellent level. It's just we stopped doing that. I have a really great partner for Muskoka area. She would probably do a better job in terms of occupancy than I do because people become experts in certain things. So you can come to me if you have any questions, and I will then. If I cannot help you personally, I have people that I trust that mentored me in the past who have larger companies, but they don't we're different. We stand out in a different way, but they do an excellent job. And if we can't take you, then we'll pass you on to somebody else who's great. But yeah, it's why we do premium houses all over GTA is because if we send a cleaner for a few hours to clean a small house, then their whole day they have to travel there sometimes because not everybody has a car. They have to travel there for an hour and a half. Their whole day is killed. I'm gonna have to charge you like $400 for cleaning of a small, like it makes no sense, right? But if it's a large premium property, then they can spend the whole day there. They clean the whole thing, or two people can travel. So it's a bit of a different experience.
That's a great market to work in, actually, and I'm a designer for high-end residences, so
Amazing.
if there was a chance for us to speak.
Of course. Agents and designers and mortgage brokers are our best partners because that's how we
Well,
meet.
the entire investor community is one big circle.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter if you're the consumer investor or the real estate agent. You all need each other
We
at every
complement each
point.
other.
Correct. So because an investor is not an end user. End user is the homeowner. The investor is another link, another piece to the puzzle. And we all work together consistently, and that's how we win together.
Yes.
So you being a designer, you being the manager, the guy who brings the opportunity, the woman who finances the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody needs each other to make this all happen. And that's the beauty of it all. So with that said, I want to thank everybody who joined us online on both YouTube and Facebook. And of course, to the people in the room, it wouldn't be a Saturday brunch with REC if you weren't here. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We still have some damage to do in the kitchen. Mr. Kevorkian, thank you again for the wonderful and delicious food. We appreciate you. Let's go network some more in the kitchen. Any other questions, you can hit up Anton directly. A big round of applause for Anton.
Thank you.
Thank you.